Everybody, Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific 3 Eastern, Sundays 3 Pacific 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. And it is Tuesday here on the show. You know what that means? We got a lot to talk about. Always get thrown off when there's no Monday show because then the Tuesday show happens and I feel like it's Monday, but it's actually Tuesday and it's just all weird. But tonight we got NXT. We got a couple of matches, title matches announced for NXT tonight. Of course, Wednesday is Dynamite in Knoxville. 5 segments announced for that show, including a tag team title match. This weekend we got Saturday night's main event. Following weekend we have the Royal Rumble. And we have all of the rest of the news as well. There's a lot of it over the weekend, which we haven't talked about. We can get everybody caught up on the TNA pay-per-view and GCW and the end of the career of Sabu, end of the career of Chris Daniels on the Collision show this past Saturday night, PCO, and injuries, and certainly plenty to talk about. Plus, of course, as always, we'll have the Raw report from Monday night. If you want to text us here today, the phone number, 425-780-7566. That's the text message line, so don't bother trying to call it. 425-780-7566. F4WOnline@gmail.com. F4W Online, Threads, Instagram, and Cameo. I'm also at Bryan Alvarez on X and Blue Sky. And we should have time for some feedback coming up here today. So that's your chance to get involved here. Mike Sempervive joins us after the break. And a lot of stuff to get into. So stick around, everybody. We'll kick it off after the break. Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Okay, can everyone hear it?
Yeah.
There's a mystery bell at Granny's house. She can't hear it. Take off your headphones for a second.
I had them on wrong anyway.
Okay.
I can't get them on right. What?
Right. Take them off and listen.
You have in your elbow?
Is the fan on a computer?
Nothing.
All right. Well, this is going to be an exciting show.
Gonna have bells ringing through the whole thing, and it's every week. It's got to be me.
Do you have a neighbor that's an ice cream man
No,
practicing out there?
I got a neighbor that smokes marijuana.
I'm sure you do. I guess
Whatever that noise is, I mean, it's still going.
Yeah, it's not going to stop, dude.
Brian, do you want me to get off here and go see if open the door and see if there's anything out there?
You think something's out the front door?
Is he ringing the bell the entire time?
No, Granny, you don't.
Let me in! Let me in!
It's fine. It's fine.
If it's death, don't open the door.
Thank you, Craig. This person thinks it's a stove timer.
Have you burned the roast?
No, I don't have a stove. You want me to just get off here?
No. We're going to barrel through it.
I'd love it.
You're not even doing anything. Granny, Nick says that you've got an old-fashioned analog alarm clock in Terry's bedroom.
I don't know. I got a new alarm clock, battery operated. Is that what she meant?
Well, whatever it is, it's going haywire right now.
Oh, it might be my alarm.
Do you think?
But it's way back in the bedroom.
Don't worry about it right now. But when the show's over, you might want to go...
That's what it is.
Okay.
Solve the mystery.
Is there a reason you didn't turn it off when it started ringing?
Well, I wasn't in there. I didn't.
Duh.
I took a nap. I took a nap and set the alarm. I thought I shut it off, but I probably didn't.
No.
You probably didn't.
That's life.
I would say with a good deal of certainty that you didn't turn it off.
Brian, that's life around here.
Yeah, I'm well aware. I do the show with Dave, too.
Say,
Hear all sorts of things in the background.
did I do that? You know,
Yeah, you did do that.
or I thought I did that, but I didn't.
In there.
I wake up and I see lights on and I say, I didn't turn those lights on. What's going on?
Maybe the place is haunted.
Could be.
Okay.
It's my brain that's haunted.
Well, I hope not. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. No show yesterday, and so I feel like we're way behind in all of this. And I guess we got to get going.
Can't waste any time.
Nah, but I'm kind of stalling here at the beginning.
Why is that?
Well,
Deep thoughts?
nah, Rob Van Dam did an interview today, and he talked a lot about Chris Bay.
Oh.
And, what's going on? Obviously, Chris Bay got injured, and they had the GoFundMe they started. Plugged it again. We talked about it on Observer Radio last night. And it's up to $106,000 or something like that. And, doing very well. But they never really told us what happened to Chris Bay. It was always kept very, very quiet. And Rob did the One of a Kind podcast, which is his podcast. And he lives very close to Chris Bay. And he talked a lot about all of the details about what exactly happened. And I guess since he talked about it publicly, I guess we can talk about what he talked about here. But I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know.
It's a melancholy way to start the show, but...
Well, it's like, nobody was talking about it. And then all of a sudden, Rob Van Dam comes out and talks about everything. And it's almost like, well, maybe Chris Bay should have been the one to talk about it. But, what's done is done. You know what I'm saying? It's out. And it seems to be, some positive news. So, essentially, I guess I'll just talk about what he said. He said, Chris Bay happens to live very close to us. Katie and I went and visited him because he made it home. Stuck in the hospital for 2 months, he says. He had a match, if you don't know, with the Hardy Boys. I know very little about it, but they were going for a move that didn't work out safely, and Chris broke his neck, and then he was paralyzed. He said, I don't know how much we should talk about it, really, but let me just say that he's going to wait until he's ready to talk. Of course, I invited him on here. He is much better than I imagined, much better than he was when he was paralyzed. He's not paralyzed anymore, and he's getting everything back. He's going to make a comeback to a full comeback. I'm sure of it, but it's going to be a long journey. And we'll probably check in with him a lot because, like I said, he lives really close. So hopefully that's all accurate.
Yeah.
That would certainly be very, very good news. But if you, still want to help, obviously, Dave and I talked a lot about this last night. And, I think everyone's in agreement that if you get injured in a match, the company should take care of all of that. And they obviously should, but I don't have a problem with companies promoting GoFundMes because, the GoFundMe is more than just taking care of the hospital stay and everything like that. 2 months in the hospital, that's going to be a very, 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 very expensive deal. I have a family member who was in the hospital about 2 weeks ago for 3 days. And obviously insurance is going to pay for a fair amount of this. But, 3 days in the hospital was $50,000. It's a lot of money. So we're talking 2 months in the hospital. And then not just, the 2 months in the hospital, but also there's all the living expenses as well. So, even if TNA paid for every last single thing that had to do with the injury and the hospitalization and any surgeries, etc., still got living expenses. So I like that they plugged the GoFundMe. And if you go to my X, at Bryan Alvarez, I retweeted the GoFundMe. And hopefully people can continue to support Chris Bay through all of this. And hopefully everything Rob Van Dam said is exactly what's going on. And he's on the road to a good recovery. So all the best to him and everybody else.
And I would expect Anthem to pay all of the medical bills, but if I recall, Chris Bay had a family, and you obviously know now if you didn't know before the condition that Chris Bay is in, and what about the future? And this just helps to galvanize their future a little bit more. Be the same as putting a bunch of merchandise on sale that somebody would be buying, but in this case it's just going directly to the source without anything. So I wouldn't expect a WWE or an AEW to do that, to promote it, although at least on their shows and things like that. If they would, it doesn't matter if they would or if they wouldn't, but for everybody else below that, I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. Seriously. And I think anybody that does have a problem with it, it's just kind of ridiculous, really. Again, it's just a way for people to reach out and support these people directly. That's it. Not getting any merch in return, getting anything in return. It's just doing it because you want to help.
And I think that the fact of the matter is, we've talked about the way things are done in WWE and AEW, and obviously if something happens in WWE, they just pay for everything, but they send you everywhere. You have no say in the matter. You're going to this person, but they pay for everything. AEW, it's more you handle it all, but expense it, and we pay you back for everything. So it's paid for either way. And, I don't know this for sure, but, Anthem, it's Anthem. And I would be stunned if they did not take care of everything with Chris Bay in regards to hospitalization, etc., and the injury. Maybe we'll find out otherwise someday, but I would be very surprised if that was not the case.
It's hard for me to believe that they're not insured out the wazoo and a Canadian-based company. I would hope that wouldn't be the case, and I don't believe that is going to be the case. And I would say this, I think in a extreme circumstance like this, while some minor things may fall on the family, I think in a situation where if this happened on an AEW show, protocol would probably change a little bit when it comes to who pays and
yes,
when.
If it's a catastrophic
You know what I mean?
injury, they're not sending you home, and then you've got to find your way to the hospital. We're talking you tear your ACL,
yeah.
But something like this, it would have been, So anyway, that's the update. That's what Rob Van Dam was talking about there. We've also got an update on Allie Katch, who broke her leg in two places, doing a dive at the GCW show. And she was facing Effie in a number one contenders match. So the match was stopped. Effie won, went on to win the title in the main event. There's a GoFundMe for her expenses as well, which is currently at almost $50,000. And it'll be 6 weeks before she can walk without crutches. And, then she has to do all rehab and everything like that. But all of the best to her as well. And I think that's the only other injury we have to talk about here today, which is good news, because don't like hearing about too many injuries.
No, I thought Adam Priest was going to take one on that power slam from Dustin Rhodes, but then I remembered, on Collision, but the show was taped. We would have heard about that, but oof, that was a close one there.
I haven't seen all of Collision yet, but I did see the Chris Daniels Hangman Page match.
Do you like blood?
It was a bloody match, all right. And there was some criticism, okay? Because what happened was they did the match, and Hangman he murdered this guy. He killed him. And then, he killed him again afterwards. And then they put the guy in a neck brace, and they carted him off. And they go to break, and they come back, and Tony Schiavone is cheerfully introducing Tony Storm, and they never talk about it again, okay?
They've done this before.
Now, I will say this.
Yes.
This was not billed as a retirement match, okay? So I think that what is likely to happen is it will be announced within the next few weeks, because it was his retirement match. That was Chris Daniels' decision. He is done. He is retired from wrestling after that match. And so what I think is going to happen is at some point they are going to announce that as a result of the violent beating and the vicious post-match beating, it appears that Chris Daniels' career is over, and they will promote it hard. Now, I will say, while I didn't mind that they didn't make a big deal out of his retirement, because in storyline, we're not supposed to know yet that it's his retirement, I do think that there is a happy medium where at least at some other point during the show, because I don't think they ever mention the guy again. I don't think they mentioned his name one time the rest of the hour and a half. It would have been nice to have an update or, all the best to Chris Daniels, but we just moved on. So that was that. But anyway, back in a moment with more Observer Live.
AEW held an event in Dallas last weekend that included plenty of AEW stars. Take a look at the top highlights and most noteworthy moments from the event.
There are a lot of people who have led to the success and the revolution that is All Elite Wrestling. First and foremost, the great wrestling fans here and around the world. The Elite, Chris Jericho, John Moxley, a lot of wrestlers who took a chance on us from the very beginning, from our very first show. And when we had our first ever event, it was the original Double or Nothing, we had a ticket on sale event. It generated a lot of buzz. It got a lot of people talking, and it's great to bring that kind of energy here for the fans in Arlington. These great fans who've turned out with us today, the great Texas wrestling fans, and all of the great fans all over the world. Pro wrestling has always been at the forefront of entertainment, whether it was the original broadcast television, cable, closed circuit, pay-per-view, VHS, DVD. Pro wrestling's always been there, and the future of wrestling and the future of entertainment is streaming, and pro wrestling is going to be at the forefront of that. AEW All In and all of the AEW TV shows are going to be live streaming going forward on Max. We've got a great home on TBS. We have a great home on TNT.
Brought to the fans more than just wrestling. You've brought to the fans the event called StarCast.
That's right, yes, sir. And StarCast was really created to support the original All In, Tony.
Right.
We wanted to find a way to take that super show, but this dream and the idea and the ambitious goal of selling 10,000 tickets, Tony, at the time felt unfathomable. Who would have thought just a few years later it'd be the most ticketed event ever?
Right.
And now, All In is back in America. Right here in Arlington, and I'm proud to announce right here today, Tony, that All In is now a week. It is going to be a destination. StarCast is coming back to All In right here in Arlington.
That's right.
How about that, Tony?
And that's right. And you are going to be able to meet many of the stars throughout the decades in pro wrestling. Some of your favorite stars currently, some of your favorite stars in the past, right?
That's exactly right. It's all about nostalgia. This is about a celebration, a love letter for wrestling fans. A friend of mine once called it the Woodstock of wrestling. Something for everybody, multiple generations, the favorite Hall of Famers, the favorite legends, and the stars of the day. And also interactive experiences you can't do anywhere else, Tony.
In the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I should at least address it because I wrote the thing on the front page yesterday.
All right.
There's nothing new on Brit Baker. I don't know why all these stories came out over the weekend and on Monday, but they did. And I spent the entire morning asking multiple people, including people who are not necessarily fans of Brit Baker. And every one of them was like, I don't know why this story is out today. Nothing has changed. The story is the story, which is that she's not being used right now. Why? Nobody knows. And it was basically the same answer from everybody, which is ask Tony. Tony's not going to answer. He never answers these questions. And the funny thing about it is, there's something about Brit Baker where when you get a Brit Baker story, like all of the news sites know this one's going to do well. And, when the whole thing came out, I sent a blurb to the site so they could do a story on it. And even they were like, this is going to be the most read story all day. I was like, huh? And so I actually went up and I retweet like all sorts of stuff on my ex from WrestlingObserver.com. And so I went up and it was like, okay, well, let's see. Joe Hendry appearance set for TNA Impact, That'll do 3,000. Rob Van Dam, Chris Bay update. Actually, Chris Bay update actually defeated Britt Baker solidly. That's at 100. That's at 116,000 right now. But other than that, I think I had to go back almost a week to like the announcement that WWE was going to do international pay-per-views. That one must have gone viral or something like that. But that Britt Baker story within 90 minutes was over 30,000 views, like 10 times what like every other random story that goes up on the front page does. So people love to hear Britt Baker drama for whatever reason. And the story wasn't even about drama. It was about how there isn't any drama right now. So that's the story. Like, she's not being used. No one knows why. Tony's not going to talk about it. Maybe she'll be back. Maybe she won't. But, yesterday it was one of those games of telephone where Wade Keller said something on his podcast. Somebody wrote a story about it with a headline. The next person who wrote a story about it had a more dramatic headline. The next person who wrote a story about it had an even more dramatic. And by noon, all the headlines were, Britt will never return to AEW. She is heading to... And I was like, what? And everyone I talked to was like, what? So... That's where it is. It was just a snowball into a story blown out of proportion. Hey, listen, maybe she will never be back. But like, there's no thing in AEW right now where she's gone. We're never going to use her. It's just finished. It's like there's nothing new. There's nothing new from the last time she disappeared, and it was noted that you do realize she's not the only one who regularly disappears for long periods of time. But, when it's Britt, it's like a big story because it's Britt Baker. But, Thunder Rosa, do you realize she had 2 matches since August? Remember we were like talking about that on the show where she was getting a championship match at World's End. And she'd had 2 matches since August. So, like, the main talking point is Thunder Rosa's had 2 matches since August. She's getting a title shot. But the other talking point is she's only been around twice in 4 months. That didn't end up being a scandal. We didn't hear stories about how she had heat. Or like Serena Deeb. Everyone's talking, well, remember when Britt said, no one cares, and then she just disappeared from TV? That happened. Serena also disappeared from TV. She's had 1 match and just vanished. It's gone. So this happens all the time with numerous different talents, but some get talked about more than others. So there you go. That's what happened.
Why Nyla Rose tweets, so,
Yeah, where's Nyla Rose been?
Somebody can talk about
Nyla Rose vanishes for months and months and months on end, shows up and has a match, disappears for months on end. You never hear, like, Nyla Rose has heat. She's never going to be used again. Tony is soured on Nyla Rose.
Well, maybe that's because she didn't do what Britt Baker did, and that was slash Tony's tires. I mean, that's what I've been.
Slash anyone's tires.
Got a little crazy with the nitrous oxide.
Yeah. Karushida, she vanishes for like months on end.
Yeah.
Saray hasn't been around in 4 months, It's just like people vanish. That's what happened.
Remember when Willie Mack wasn't being used and then got, hit up for the GCW show, then all of a sudden they put him on like an ROH 6-way or something like that? I mean, and then people were like, wait, Willie Mack is under contract to AEW? But
yeah, we found out Abaddon. Abaddon, once a year at Halloween, we see the Abaddon series of matches, and then vanishes. No one ever says, people hate Abaddon in the back. She's got intense heat. That's why you never see Abaddon.
Well, maybe that's also because Abaddon hasn't been linked to any heat, because he talked about Thunder Rosa, and what a lot of people do remember is Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa possibly, maybe, conceivably having issues to the point where they had a show based on backstage drama that opened up with, that was alluding to some heat with Britt Baker and with others. So
that was another funny one. Listen, I'm sure that, like, I know there are people that have heat with Britt Baker, okay? But it's a reality show, dude. Like, has there ever been this is how reality shows work. It's a reality show. Danhausen vanished forever and then randomly returned on a Ring of Honor after being gone for like a year. Taven and Bennett have vanished. Where'd they go? Remember they reunited the Undisputed Kingdom, and after they reunited them, they vanished. Do you guys remember when Adam Cole made that big return at World's End last year and revealed that he was like the devil or whatever? He did like one show, and then he vanished. Like, he was gone for months, if I recall correctly. I mean, it happens.
Is Jack Perry still in Japan?
Yeah, where's Jack Perry been? Vanished. He just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Where's Scorpio Sky? Is he gone out of there completely? I don't even know anymore.
I don't even know if he's signed anymore. Like, I know Kazarian is now in TNA because I watched the TNA pay-per-view. But, Wardlow. Wardlow's vanished. Ricky Starks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of people. They disappear. All right, let's move on. WWE has announced. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I don't know what the hell the name of it is. There was a silly name and I lost the whole thing. Where is it? Okay, here we go. WWE World Convention. You heard me. The WWE World Convention.
WWE
WrestleMania
World
week
Convention.
in Las Vegas. 5-day convention, April 17th through April 21st. Autograph signings, live podcast recordings. We're not going to be part of that one. And the convention goes on sale to the general public February 3rd. So, by the way, if you are going, hold Friday open for the Dave Meltzer, Bryan Alvarez Q&A. You can get tickets at f4wonline.com/Vegas. We're having the Q&A on Friday at the beautiful Palms in Las Vegas, right off the Strip. It's very, very close to everything. And we've also got 2 after parties, WrestleMania after parties. Come eat and drink in a suite with everybody. We've got dinner, a Fogo de Chao, all-you-can-eat steak dinner. Ed in San Antonio is running a wrestling show. Vinny V is going to probably do a karaoke gimmick. And a special 2 sessions of Watch Wrestling with Dave Meltzer. I know a lot of you out there have said, I would love to watch wrestling with Dave. Well, have we got an option for you? Watch Wrestling with Dave Meltzer on Saturday and Sunday night. And you can check all these out, f4wonline.com/Vegas. Tickets available for everything. Grab your Q&A tickets right now. I know a lot of you are going. Don't lie to me. We got NXT tonight. Oba Femi versus Eddie Thorpe for the NXT title. And Tony D versus Ridge Holland for the North American title. That could be a title change. We've also got Wednesday's Dynamite. Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega face-to-face. Private Party versus The Hurt Business for the tag titles. Whew. Man, what a follow-up to Private Party beating the Young Bucks.
You don't think Mark Quinn's going to roll up Bobby Lashley?
Not good. Not
Small
good.
package?
Samoa Joe versus Nick Wayne, which sounds awesome.
Sorry, Nick.
And Julia Hart and Jamie Hayter. And now that he's changed his name to just Cope, he's got to face everybody else with a one-word name. We're going to get Cope versus Mox. And today, or Wednesday, we have Cope versus Pac. So who's next? Who else has one name in AEW? Roosh?
Yeah, there you go.
Cope versus Roosh has got to be coming.
Commander. Hologram.
Cope versus Hook at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Cope versus Commander. I think it's got to be one syllable, though, so Commander doesn't count.
Did he do that just so he could start getting put into, like, crossword puzzles? You know, it's like you always see, like, Mel Ott as the baseball one in there. Like, maybe Cope. He wants to be, like, big in the crossword business now.
I don't think that's why he changed his name to Cope.
Yeah, you never know. You don't like the crosswords, do you? You're more the...
I did a crossword in the New York Times every day. Will you
more
stop?
Of a jumble guy.
I'm
You never make it to Sunday, though, can you?
Oh, get out of here. I think I am. Some dummy. All right, we're going to talk about Raw after the break. Any other news as well? I'll look through this text message bin, see if we got anything exciting. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Well, we reviewed SmackDown yesterday, Tom, and you don't even get SmackDown. You're very, just, you know how you are.
Fine. Whatever. I don't care. Whatever.
That's your impression of me?
Yeah, that's my impression of you.
Wow.
So what are we, at least, I hope you at least watch the SmackDown main event.
I watched the entire show.
Okay, because there's a lot of people that still like your review, Tom.
I went on the board, and I saw like 2 people.
Yeah, do you go on Twitter?
Yeah, I do go on Twitter,
You read my emails?
I do go on
the
Twitter.
Text messages? I mean...
Do you go on Twitter? Because if you do,
yes.
You would have seen one of the greatest moments in world history.
In world history, really.
World history. Frank Tate walked away the victor of the fight, but he walked away an even bigger winner when it comes to life. This man completed what I would say is the best high five, the best dap up in the history of the galaxy. This man had his dog. And when I say dog,
barely a dog.
I mean D-O-G and D-A-W-G. This was a dog, baby. The dog was so proud. You can see just the elation in that dog's face. He threw that paw up. He let it hang for a few moments, and then he brought it down for the dap.
Tom's not even doing this justice. Everyone has seen a dog,
Listen.
like you put your hand out and the dog like puts his paw up to shake hands. This freaking dog goes, ah, hoppa! Like, what? That was more than a high five. I don't even know what you would even term that. He dunked. He dunked that man.
30 million views on this clip. And that is about 1/10 of what it should have. So if you haven't seen it, you deserve it. Treat yourself. Go to my Twitter. Watch Frank Tate high five his dog.
No, he did not high five his dog.
The dog high fived
his dog high fived him. Yes. He just wanted like a, just boom. And this dog was like, no way, brother. You knock that man out. I'm going to give you a big time dunking high five from way up high. You go high five, up high, down low, too slow. This was an up high. Guy should have pulled his hand away.
It's the best thing you've ever seen.
Man, too slow, Joe. Yeah, it was pretty good. Not going to lie. I liked it. Didn't have time to look at text messages. I was doing that New York Times crossword. Killed that mini during the break while you blokes were just chit-chatting in the background.
Took from pillar to post, everybody. From the time he signed off until just now, it took him that long to finish that thing.
No, it was less than 2 minutes. I just banged through that thing like nothing. By the way, tomorrow's After Dark. 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern here on Sports Byline. And it's working tomorrow. Do you understand? It's going to work tomorrow.
Never mind.
Because, first off, Dom thinks he's figured it out on the Byline end, why we kept getting disconnected only during After Dark, not during this particular show. And I have the backup where I will transmit the show to Byline via Skype if this happens again. Do you understand? So tomorrow, it's going to be, we have no guest tomorrow. I don't know if I can do it. But we're going to try. So we'll talk about some weird news. And also take your text messages, emails, and phone calls. And if you want to send emails today, anytime you send the email, just put After Dark in the subject line so I can easily go through them. F4WOnline@gmail.com or Bryan@WrestlingObserver.com. Put After Dark in the subject line. And if you have a story about something in your life that was just cursed, I want to hear about it. Because After Dark for the last 2 weeks has been cursed. So if you have something that happened to you where you're like, my God, this is cursed. There's no logical explanation other than it must be cursed. I want you to send it to me. After Dark in the subject line. Bryan@WrestlingObserver.com. I may even take phone calls. I want to hear about everyone's cursed experiences. If you have a cursed doll, that's even better. You hear me?
Maybe Alexa can call in.
No.
She has a cursed doll.
No, she doesn't. It's fake. I'm talking about a real curse. You guys understand what After Dark is? I don't want you calling me with some BS story. I want this to be like something that actually happened to you. Don't say, a friend of a friend's friend had a doll that, I don't want to hear that. Did you have the doll?
Yeah.
Was it cursed? Well, tell me the story. Bryan@WrestlingObserver.com. Put After Dark in the subject line. And we're going to read some of them on the show. Got it?
Yeah.
All right.
If it's an LSD-tinged story, go ahead and say that one.
No, I want it to be something that happened to you when you were sober.
Well,
anyway, the Raw show.
It's actually some ways even scarier, Brian.
Another 2.5-hour show.
A lot scarier, actually.
And it was a pretty good show. I mean, God, that SmackDown show, they still cannot figure out. It's everything I talked about too. Everybody looks at this so simplistically. They've done TV for 50 years. Why can't they figure it? It's not about figuring it out. So the problem,
yes, it is.
When Raw went to 2 hours at the end of September or the beginning of October, yes, they know how to do a 2-hour show. They do NXT every week. But the point is, they had a 3-hour roster that they had to try to squeeze into 2 hours and not be AEW where people just dropped off the face of the earth, okay?
Yeah, enough people for a 17-hour roster.
Well, SmackDown now has the opposite problem where they've got a 2-hour roster and now they need to do 3 hours of SmackDown, and the only solution
is a half hour of loving
to extend the length of all of these matches. And you know what's funny?
What's that?
We're diverting into something else here. So, did you watch that Tiffany Stratton match with Bayley?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't very good. It was all right by the end. But it was way too long. And Tiffany is not good in really long matches. She has some cool spots, but it's extremely obvious that she got called up to the main roster a little bit too early.
Told you.
I told everybody that. Now, here's the thing with this, which I find interesting. Somebody on our board was like, you ever notice it's always the women that people point out had a botch here or a botch there? Why don't people ever mention it with the men? Okay, now first off, I got really mad about it because I am constantly pointing out botches involving men. Dude, I spent 15 minutes talking about that spot with Chris Jericho and Dax where they were trying to do that finish where Dax headbutted the belt, but the belt was too far away.
Say, wait a second, no podcast talked about that one.
On
Come on.
and on and on. Like, if you dare accuse me of not being fair in my criticism, and the thing that's funny about it is, the reason I bring it up with Tiffany is I am fair with my criticism. Because I do feel that there are fans that are like, we want this equality. We want the men and the women to have equality in wrestling. We want the men and the women to each have their own royal and all this and that. But if you are critical of a woman, then all of a sudden you're a bad guy. And it's like, listen, do you want this to be equal or not? Because if you're demanding equality, I have been giving you equality. When Tiffany has botches and she doesn't have a great match, I'm going to tell you about it. And if you're gonna defend it for some reason other than like whatever, that's on you, not me. I am very fair in my criticism. So the fact is that match was too long. They went like 19 minutes, and you know what? Hey, I'll be fair, okay?
All right. Yeah.
So yeah, they had a lot of spots in that match where, and Tiffany does it in a lot of her matches, where she's out of position, or the move didn't look great, or they totally forgot this or that. Well, in fairness, do you know what else was on that show?
What's that?
Rey Mysterio and Kevin Owens, okay? Who happened to be, I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, they are in the men's division, okay? They had never had a singles match before, was the story. So they went in there, and they also went like 16 minutes. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you like it was a bad match, but man, they had a lot of problems repeatedly in this match. There was one spot where I think Ray was supposed to do like a Hurricane Rana, but like Kevin was going to bump over the top to the floor or something like that. And like they could not do this spot. It just was not working. And finally, Kevin just grabs the guy and like powerbombed him on the apron or something. He just killed this guy. And then they had to figure out, okay, well, he was supposed to send me out, so now I got to give it back to him. And so you can just see him trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm going to beat you for a while, and then we got to do a switch here. And it's just like, watching the whole match, it was like, this was clearly two guys who had never had a match together before. And you could see that they had ideas, but, like, some of them just did not work out. It happens with the men. It happens with the women. And I'm going to tell you about it, whether it's a man or a woman having these problems. That's it.
I believe we should have a segment on this show every day or at least every week where you just stuff sensitive wrestling fans right into their pajama clothes and send them to bed.
I'm not stuffing anybody in any pants. Just telling you.
I meant like, no, never mind.
I don't know what you're talking about. So on this show, hey, speaking of, Ray and Kofi Kingston.
Yeah?
Talk about two blokes that work great together. Holy smokes. These guys worked so well together. I mean, they just gelled perfectly. And Ray ends up pinning him, which I was kind of surprised by because the New Day just turned heel and they're getting their heel push. But you could see where it's going, which is an LWO versus New Day match. And I don't think it's going to go well for the LWO. I think it's going to be bad.
Now, if it ends up with Ray and Dragon Lee, I can see it going badly. If it ends up with Ray and Penta maybe as a team against those two to get the final victory, I could see that. But if you're Cruz and Joaquin, well, hey, just have good matches. That's all you can do. It's like Los Garzas with the Motor City Machine Guns. You're going to be there as fodder, hopefully have a good match. And I don't know if the Garzas really did. I was actually a little bit disappointed in that match, but I don't know. It's unfortunate that they're in the position they're in.
You know, I like to answer questions that people didn't ask.
Oh, yeah?
So I'm going to answer one here.
Sure.
So they're talking about Tiffany here on the chat and Charlotte.
Oh, boy.
And this fella here says, man, if Charlotte puts over Stratton, that would be huge. But she's not the putting others over type. Guys.
Yeah.
Listen.
You know, this is, by the way, everything you've talked about today centers around the women's division. I don't know. Feels like there's a common thread attached to all of this, Brian.
If Charlotte doesn't put over Tiffany, it's not a Charlotte call. Do you all understand? It is a management call.
Wrestling fans.
Charlotte is not in there calling the shots, okay?
It's bad combination.
I know a lot of you don't like Charlotte Flair. That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But you do not have to make up reasons to not like her beyond the reasons you already don't like her, okay? Charlotte is not going to not put someone over. Like, does no one understand? The reason Charlotte wins so many matches and has won so many titles is because she's Charlotte Flair, and the gimmick is she is going to win 16 world titles in her career. It is very difficult to win 16 world titles, or 17, if you don't actually win title matches. So when she comes back, I don't know how many titles she's won. How many has she won? Shall we find out?
I'll say 12.
But it's more than that. In WWE?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Charlotte Flair championships and accomplishments. Okay, she's a 6-time Raw champion.
All right.
She's a 7-time SmackDown champion.
13.
Okay, she's a 1-time Divas champion. I'm not sure if they're going to count that one or not.
Maybe. Triple Crown.
We'll just say 14.
All right.
And then I don't know if they're going to count the 2 NXT titles.
Oh, sure they are.
Well, I don't know.
All right.
I don't know what they call her.
No.
So my guess is they're going to say she's a 14-time champion.
Well, no, it's got to be a world title, and since they have 2 world titles, they may not count the NXT title when they're counting all of these up.
Well, the point is, she's very likely going to have to win at least 3 more titles during her career, which will be difficult to do if she does not win title matches over people that you may like more than Charlotte Flair. But she's not calling the shots here. They are telling a story. They've been telling it for years. That the dot, and you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if she won 18, because they kind of have a love-hate relationship with Ric Flair. So I think there's a decent chance that John Cena breaks his record.
Yeah.
Because they've always pushed John Cena as the greatest of all time. Well, how do you push him as the greatest of all time if someone else has more belts? Which, by the way, brings an interesting question, which I'm going to get to in a moment. But the point is, Charlotte's going to win at least 16, maybe 17 or 18.
I say 29.
And she's got to win matches to do that. Now, at the TNA pay-per-view, we had a world title change, which I think Lenny told me wasn't going to happen, so add that to his counter. Joe Hendry won the TNA title.
He did.
He then did an interview the next day saying that he would love to finish his story by facing John Cena. And I thought, man, John Cena.
We all got a story, kid.
John Cena. He's going for that last world title. And it really hit me. Like, John Cena, this is the booking of John Cena. It's so easy. John Cena needs to go to WrestleMania, challenge Cody, and lose. Okay? Then it needs to be, you know what? I'm going to challenge Joe Hendry. I'll get my last world title through TNA. He's got to lose. And then later on in the year, he's got to get that one last title match and win. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
So I am super excited, and I just wanted to make a little note. I'm not only the former, but I'm the soon-to-be again women's world.
There you go.
I believe in myself. I never lost a championship, and I want an opportunity to be a champion again so we can finish business the right way. Is that right, guys? Yeah. Is that right? And that's why we're going to be here and All In, because we're going to finish business the right way. Saturday, July 12th, tickets are going to be available. We are super excited. Me as part of the women's division, believe me, we are ecstatic that we're going to bring this to the United States. And I'm ecstatic because it's going to be here in Texas, and I'm pretty sure, I'm saying this, that I'm going to be in All In next year. It's damn time that I'm going to be here performing. I see you over there. What's up, Nation? What's up? See? You? Yes, you. They listen to us on the radio. They listen. Everybody knows about AEW. Everybody knows that we've been working super hard for the last 5 years, guys. And it's because of you that we have been able to do what we have. Because you believe in ourselves just as much as Tony Khan does. He believes in this crazy idea that a lot of people say that it wasn't going to be possible. And look at us now. Look at us now. Here, Global Field Stadium. Big show.
What I wanted to make sure of is to put on a good show for you guys and just have an opportunity. I had to do a check with myself a couple years ago, and I said, how does my body feel? How does my body look? Can I go on more? And all those answers were, I feel great, I can go more, and I can do more. And Tony Khan gave me the opportunity to do more, so that's what I'm doing. I'm coming out here to try to have... And another thing, there was a group that we started a couple years back that we didn't have an opportunity to do what we wanted to do and really show you guys what we were capable of.
I can always tell when a fan's like been a long-term fan because they're remembering stuff from like the 90s and attributing it to today.
Mm-hmm.
Fans for decades have heard stories about wrestlers going home rather than do what's asked. All right, when was the last time Charlotte went home because she was asked to do a job and she just wanted to go home?
Maybe they're conflating her with her.
When's the last time somebody in WWE was told to do something and they didn't do it?
Brock Lesnar.
When?
I don't know.
Brock always does what's asked. Dude, they asked The Undertaker to break the streak at WrestleMania, and the guy did it. And he still talks to this day about it and happy about it. Name the last person who was asked to do something and they didn't.
Shane McMahon, when he was asked to shut the F up backstage whenever he had something planned for Brock.
No, they just sent him home.
Quit. I don't know. I'm sure it's happened, but to what degree? I mean, that we've heard about it. People can not like what they're doing and whatever, but at the end of the day, again, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley is a bad memory in a lot of people's minds, but it wasn't Charlotte's fault that she was put in that situation. They put Rhea Ripley in a situation.
Oh, yeah, Sasha and Naomi. Yeah, Sasha quit.
And didn't let her
Yeah, that
thrive.
happened.
Well, there you go. Sasha and Naomi that did happen. So...
Yeah, and they never brought her back. We got vignettes for Charlotte right now.
Well, Sasha didn't want to go back, and they did bring back Naomi, so...
Yeah, they brought back Naomi when she wanted to come back. But at the time, it was like nobody was saying this was a Naomi thing that happened. If you guys recall, it was like everybody, the day that it happened, and in the weeks and months, they were like, this was a Sasha call. So,
plus, Naomi has a bloodline, so...
Anyway... We're out of time, everybody. We got to wrap it up. Be back later on tonight. Bryan and Vinny Show, Mid-South, Championship Wrestling, Granny, and more. We're back here tomorrow. Observer Live After Dark. It's going to be a fun day. Talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.